I will request all the platforms to rethink your revenue sharing policies, because that is also one of the major concerns that the entire society today is raising. And if this is not done voluntarily, then there are so many countries which have shown the path to get it done in a legal way. I want to start with trust. The entire human society is built upon trust in institutions. When human beings created the social structure, they created so many institutions, beginning with the institution of family, beginning with the institution of a social identity, beginning with the institutions of judiciary, media, legislature, a democratic way of coming together and deciding things. All these institutions were built on one fundamental premise, the premise of trust. And that basically meant that different arms of the society, different institutions within the society, and the individuals interacting with those institutions, they believe that the world and these institutions work on certain principles which are based upon trust. For example, if there is a media outlet, the fundamental premise was that the media outlet will be unbiased, would check everything before publishing, would make sure that they are accountable for what they are publishing, make sure that they take into consideration every factor which is needed to reinforce that trust in the world of media. Similarly, every arm, every institution that human beings build, that is based upon these fundamental tenets where mutual trust defines the entire core of the institution. The way the world is emerging today, that core tenet of trust is under threat. That threat is coming from so many different angles. Deepfakes, which can make you believe things which have never happened anyway. Disinformation barrage, which can cause that sense of distrust which doesn't exist in the real life, creating synthetically generated pictures of people, well respected people in the society, creating videos which have absolutely no correlation with reality. And all that content, all that news, so called content, whichever we want to put it in, when it reaches the common citizen starts questioning the very basic structure of the society. That's something which is a big threat. And this is not something that we in India are observing. My interactions with practically every country, every society is struggling with these issues. How do we rebuild that trust within the institutions? The institutions which have been created over centuries, how do we rebuild that trust? How do we protect these institutions from the threat which is emerging from the current shape, the current form of the world? That is the inflection point where we are standing today. And in that inflection point, online safety of our citizens is becoming a major concern. The entire society today is struggling with so many issues which need to be addressed in a very decisive way. That time has now come. Online safety, where safety is from authenticity of news content, safety of our children, protection against obscenity, protection against synthetically generated fake content. All those items really need a very decisive step today because they are basically challenging, they are basically destroying the fundamental tenet of our society, which is the trust in different institutions, which the society has created over centuries. And in this, we must realize that the nature of internet has changed. The nature of internet which emerged decades ago was very different from the nature of internet which is there today. No longer is the case where internet was open sourced. It was basically used to exchange information between different parts of the world. Today, it has become a powerful media outlet where, like media, the platforms must take the responsibility of what they are publishing. The times are gone when a platform could say that they are not responsible for the content. Those times are gone because the platforms themselves have changed from being pure platforms to becoming hosts to the world. Like a person managing a hotel where the customer who comes to the hotel is verified by the hotel manager so that the person who lives or stays in the hotel for a brief period doesn't do something which is illegal. That same responsibility platforms must take. Are they allowing content which is illegal? Are they promoting content through the algorithms which is fake? Are they causing harm to the citizens, especially to children? Are they inciting commitment of crime? All these questions the platforms must now answer. And they must take the responsibility for the harmful content which is there on the platforms. The virality of platform generated or platform hosted content is known to all of us. How a patently false information can be spread to millions of people within few hours, that's very well known to us now. Therefore, the time has come when the platforms must take responsibility for the content which is hosted by them. There has to be a user consent for all the synthetically generated content. How can a video be generated of a big news anchor, a famous news anchor, where the news anchor is in that synthetically generated video trying to advertise for some medicine? That's just not done. IT industry leaders' video coming up without his consent, where he's asking people to do something or invest in some particular mutual fund. That's not done. That consent of the user has to be taken. That is the way the society is today dealing. That's the way the society is today coming to some sort of consensus. That time has come when the platforms must take proactive actions on cyber frauds, on cyber crimes. We have seen what happened in Ghaziabad. In the recent past, we passed a law by which crores of families are saved from becoming absolutely bankrupt by losing out their money to the online money games, where the algorithms are so designed to make everything addictive. And after winning some small amounts, there is no chance that a person playing on those games will ever be able to be a net winner. All those things are real challenges that we are facing today. We have very intensely interacted with the platforms in the recent past, and we have very categorically told the platforms that please make sure that you are taking all steps which are necessary for protecting our citizens from the harms, ensuring the online safety of our citizens, and making sure that the platforms are not used for propagating illegal acts and committing crimes or inciting crimes. The courts are also very concerned because it's affecting every part of the society. Judiciary is concerned about it. One after the other, judicial judges, honorable judges are expressing their concern about the harm which is coming to the society. The parliamentary committee is also very concerned about it. In the recent times, they have done very extensive consultation with all potential stakeholders and they have given a very comprehensive report. The fundamental point is if a user has a concern, if a user has a complaint, if a user has a grievance, if a user has a potential harm that is coming to that user, what is the mechanism that platforms have done to protect the users from the harm? Are the platforms taking proactive steps to protect the citizens from harm? Are the policies of the platforms and the technologies of the platforms, are they tuned towards protecting the online citizens? Those are the fundamental questions that need to be answered. The platforms must also share revenue in a fair way with the people who are creating the content. Whether it is news persons, the conventional media, the creators sitting in far-flung areas, large influencers, small influencers, the professors and researchers who are disseminating their work using the platforms. Everywhere, the concern, the principle now has to be set right, and there has to be a fair share of revenue with the people who are creating the content. The people who created copyrights, the people who created the original content, the society grew on the basis of that intellectual property. And if that intellectual property is not well respected and not fairly compensated, then the growth of the society, the growth of science, the growth of technology, the growth of arts, the growth of literature, that will all get stunted, and the human growth which has happened over past thousands of years will get derailed, will get muted, will get stunted. That incentive for creating the original work and getting that fair compensation and the fair appreciation from sections of the society, from the entire society, must be respected, must be valued. I will request all the platforms to rethink your revenue sharing policies, because that is also one of the major concerns that the entire society today is raising. And if this is not done voluntarily, then there are so many countries which have shown the path to get it done in a legal way. Therefore, I will request through this platform, through this conclave today, that platforms must wake up, must understand the importance of reinforcing trust in the institutions which human society has created over thousands of years. Platforms must take the responsibility for the content that is hosted by them. The online safety of children, the online safety of all citizens is a responsibility of the platforms. Non-adherence to these principles will definitely make them responsible, because the nature of internet has changed now, and synthetic content should not be generated without the consent of the person whose face or voice or personality has been used to create the content. Time has come, friends, to make that big inflectional change. And I will request the platforms to cooperate with this human society's basic need, and the society which is today asking for this change has to be respected. Thank you, friends.